Hello, this is Amanda Cleland, and we are continuing in Chapter 9, Pricing, Understanding and Capturing Customer Value. So this is Part 9 of Chapter 9 on pricing. So let's talk about new product pricing strategies. How are we going to price new products we are bringing to the market? So pricing strategies usually change as the product passes through its life cycle. The introductory stage, where we are first introducing our product to the market, is usually the most challenging. Companies bringing out a new product face the challenge of setting prices for the very first time. And companies can choose between two different types of introductory pricing strategies. And this is market skimming pricing and market penetration pricing. So let's start off talking about market skimming pricing, or sometimes you'll see the term price skimming. This is when we are setting a very high price for a new product so that we can skim off the maximum revenue from our market segments who are willing to pay that high price. Now, because we're setting our price so high, we're going to make fewer sales, but the sales that we do make are going to be more profitable. So for any of you that are lucky enough to have a swimming pool where you can enjoy the summer and go swimming at your leisure in your backyard, you probably know about how you have to clean off your pool a lot. And debris will float in there, leaves from neighboring trees, and most of the time, everything floats to the top. So you're going to have to take that pool skimmer and skim off everything that rises to the top. This is the same thing with market skimming pricing. We're only skimming off all those consumers that are willing to pay this high price. We're only skimming off the top of the market. So again, setting a high price for a new product in order to skim that maximum revenue. We're going to make fewer sales, but they're going to be much more profitable sales. So market skimming, where everything floats to the top, we're setting high pricing. So let's take Apple. With every single generation, every iteration of the Apple iPhone, the iPad, or their Mac computer, the new models start out at a very high price and then kind of work their way down as newer models are introduced to the market. And Apple uses a market skimming pricing strategy for this. Apple skims the maximum amount of revenue from various segments of the market that are willing to pay that high price. And through their very smart premium pricing, Apple scoops up 72% of all smartphone profits. The majority of smartphone users in the United States purchase Apple products, and it's very profitable for Apple, and people are buying them. So some other examples of companies who use market skimming prices when they introduce new products are Sony and Tesla. In addition to Apple, for their new products, they tend to set their pricing very high to skim off that maximum revenue from the consumer segments who are willing to pay that high price. So remember, market skimming is paying that high price for new products. Market skimming only makes sense under certain conditions. It's not going to make sense in every single condition, every single new product that we introduce to the market. So a product's quality and its image must support a higher price. It's got to be of high quality, have a more highbrow image. There also must be enough buyers that want the product at that price. And the costs of producing a smaller volume, because we aren't going to sell a whole lot just because of that inverse relationship between the amount demanded and pricing. We have to ensure that the smaller volume that we're going to sell, the costs aren't so high that that's going to cancel the advantage of charging more. And also, our competitors should not be able to easily enter the market and undercut our high price. So market skimming makes sense under certain conditions, but not all conditions. Now, our other new product pricing strategy is market penetration pricing. So this is where instead of setting high prices like we do for market skimming, we are going to set a low price. So we want to penetrate that market and set low prices. So we're going to set low prices for a new product because we want to attract a really large number of buyers and get a really large market share. We're going to penetrate the market deeply and quickly with very low prices. Remember, the quantity demanded and the price are inversely related. So the lower our price, the more quantity demanded by the marketplace is going to result. So the pros of setting a low price for new products, market penetration pricing. The positives about this, it can really raise brand awareness, and it's a really quick way to gain market share. And it may not initially be profitable, but it can become profitable later on. Now, the negatives of market penetration pricings tend to be very low margins. We're probably not going to make a huge amount of profit per unit. It can also be very risky, and it requires a very high product output. And market penetration, just like market skimming, only makes sense under certain conditions. It's not going to be the right strategy for every single new product out there. So in order for market penetration to be a good new product pricing strategy, the market has to be highly price sensitive. So if we set our prices lower, that means that there's going to be a lot more opportunity for us to have market growth, and the production and our distribution costs must decrease as sales volume increase, and low prices must keep out the competition, that no one else can get their prices as low as us. Now let's talk about product mix pricing strategies next. So strategy for setting a product's price often has to be modified or changed when the product is part of a product mix. So a product mix consists of all product lines, all items that a particular seller offers for sale. A firm looks for a set of prices that is going to maximize its profits on that total product mix, not just one product, but all of those products that make up what they sell to the marketplace. And pricing for the product mix is very difficult because various products face all sorts of different kinds of demands, costs, competition. There's all sorts of variables going into this. So this is not an easy thing to do for any company coming up with a pricing strategy for the entire product mix. So the 5 product mix options are product line pricing, optional product pricing, captive product pricing, by product pricing, and product bundle pricing. And you see here, I've got an example of a company, what their product mix would consist of. And again, you've got to take all the other products into account, all these other variables that are going to affect each individual product and how you're going to determine the products. So let's talk about the 5 product mix pricing options. Product line pricing. This is the first one we're going to talk about. So that is setting the price steps between various products in a product line based on cost differences between the products, customer evaluations of different products, and competitor prices. This is when we are essentially going to have price steps, where at the low end you have the bare bones model, and at the high end you've got the model that's higher priced but has all the bells and whistles. So an example of this, Intuit offers an entire line of Quicken financial software. And you see here that they have got kind of steps in terms of the prices that they set each product to based on the quality, based on the abilities, based on the services. So you've got your bare bones model, Quicken Starter, that's $59.99. Then you've got one level up, Quicken Deluxe, $89.99. Quicken Premier, $129.99. And then the very robust, very high-end Quicken Financial Management software version is Quicken Home and Business, which costs $159.99. And you can see that's why they talk about the steps, because they're incremental in terms of how much they cost, in terms of a product line. Amazon does the same thing with their Kindles, in terms of the amount of features, the quality, the customer perception of the different models within that product line. We've got our bare bones basic Kindle for $79. Then we've got a little bit more accessories, more services in the Kindle Touch. That's $99. And then we have the high-end model of the Kindle Fire at $199. So you see how there's different steps in terms of the pricing for all of these products within that product line. And then we've got our optional product pricing. This is the pricing of optional or accessory products that are usually sold along with a main product. They accessorize that main products. And companies must decide which items to include in the base price and which ones they want to offer as an option, which they'll then need to come up with that optional product pricing. So some examples of an optional product pricing. So you are going to buy a car, and there may be optional products that you can add onto your car. You could add an upgraded navigation system. You could add premium rims, a fantastic entertainment system with big speakers. So you can add on all these optional or accessory products to your vehicle purchase. And the company has to decide for these optional products, what are they going to price it as? What are they going to price the rims at? What are they going to price the speakers at? What are they going to price your fancy navigation system at? Another example is refrigerators. So you can add all sorts of bells and whistles to your refrigerator nowadays. You can have an ice maker, a water dispenser. You can have smart technology where your refrigerator will tell you what you're running low on and what you need to buy, and perhaps automatically add it to your Walmart list. There are child locks. There are door-in refrigerators that keep things that go in and out a lot in a separate door. So there's a lot of different things. And for optional product pricing, a company has got to figure out what is going to be considered part of the bare bones model and what is going to be considered an optional or accessory service or product, and determine what the price is of those different options. So we'd have to figure out, what is the price for an ice maker? What is the price for a child lock? What is the price for additional smart technology? Laptops. So again, you can order from a full spectrum of different laptops, and you can add all sorts of optional products and accessories to it. You can add additional processors. You can have hard drives, docking systems. You can also do software options like Microsoft Office. Again, the company's going to have to figure out what is contained in that main product and what are considered additional or accessory products, and then what is going to be the price for those. And then we've got captive product pricing. And you see here, I've got an illustration of essentially someone being tied up. So, and you'll understand why I call it captive product pricing. So this person in this illustration is being held captive. And captive product pricing is setting a price for products that have to be used along with the main product to make it functional. So that is when we're selling one core product and then multiple accessory products that are known as captive products. And producers of those core products often price them very low. And then the captive products, they're going to set really high prices or really high markups on those accessory captive products. So I'll give you some examples of what I mean by this. So for those of you who shave any parts of your body, maybe your face, maybe your legs, maybe other parts, if you have ever bought razors and razor blade cartridges, you know that the razor itself is usually not very expensive. It is those razor blade cartridges that are really going to get you. They are incredibly expensive. And again, your razor is not going to work. It's not going to function unless you actually have those razor blade cartridges. Video games are another example. The video game console is the main product. However, to actually make it functional and play video games, you actually need to buy the game itself. And these are going to be much higher priced than the console itself. If you have some sort of single cup coffee brewing system, you need to buy the little pods to actually make your beverage, to make your coffee. And those coffee pods are very expensive. Again, you're being held captive by these accessory products. Printers and printer cartridges. This is my main pet peeve because I end up printing at home a lot. And the printer itself, $100. The printer cartridges, which you end up having to replace every couple months if you're using your printer on a regular basis, are incredibly expensive. But again, your printer is not going to function unless you buy this really high price printer cartridge, this captive product that is holding me captive. It's holding me hostage with this high pricing. So these are examples of captive products, main product kind of combos, and how typically firms will really mark up that captive accessory product. And captive products can account for a really substantial portion of a brand's sales and profits. In the razor business, again, it's all about the blades. You get consumers hooked on a certain kind of razor, and then they're going to buy that highly profitable blade for forever, it could be, and for the rest of their lifetime. And in 2019, Gillette sold $500 million worth of refill blades. Again, captive products, these accessory products that you need to ensure the main product is going to work. But finding that right balance between main product and captive product pricing can be really tricky. A lot of consumers feel trapped into buying really expensive captive products and may come to resent the brand that ensnared them. I am definitely feeling that way about HP printers. I feel trapped into having to buy what I believe are obscenely overpriced printer cartridges. Another example, Gillette, they've really lost their market share in probably about the last 5 years as consumers have really shifted to lower price startups like Dollar Shave Club, where they are not charging as high of prices on their captive products. And to compete, Gillette was forced to slash their prices about 20%. So you want to be really careful, and essentially you don't want to piss off your consumers and make them feel trapped by your captive product pricing. Now let's talk about byproduct pricing. So sometimes producing products or producing services is going to generate some sort of byproduct. And a byproduct can sometimes be useful and marketable. Again, some people think of a byproduct could be just trash, but sometimes it can be useful, marketable, and we have to determine the price of it. So some examples of byproducts include manure from a dairy farm, right? You've got all these cows that are making milk. Guess what every single cow is going to do? It's going to poop. So we're going to have a lot of manure. Sawdust at a sawmill, bran from the milling of wheat into refined flour that's in all of our food, straw from a grain harvesting operation. In fruit juice processing, you're going to have the byproducts of the pulp, the seeds, the peels, because that actually usually doesn't go into the juice itself. So you're going to have all these different byproducts. And what byproduct pricing is, this is setting a price for byproducts to help kind of offset the cost of disposing them and make the main product's price more competitive. And byproducts themselves can even turn out to be profitable, essentially turning trash that you may just be throwing out into cash. So you've got to figure out what is going to be the pricing of our byproducts. So some examples of companies that have done this. So our neighbors to the north, Wisconsin, well known for making cheese. It ain't easy being so cheesy. They're the cheeseheads. Wisconsin cheesemakers discovered that they could use leftover brine, which is essentially a byproduct that is created in the cheese making product. They could actually be selling it as opposed to just disposing it and throwing it out. They now sell the leftover brine essentially it's a salt solution from the cheese making process. They now sell it to local highway departments to use for salt for icy roads. So again, it's a win-win situation. They've got to figure out what is the price that they're going to sell it at. Another example is pickle makers in New Jersey also sell their leftover brine for similar purposes to use on roads during the winter months. So again, all these byproducts, you got to figure out what the price is going to be for them. And then we've got product bundle pricing. And you see here, I've got an illustration of a bundle of sticks all wrapped up together. So this is where we are going to combine several products and offerings and provide and offer a bundle at a reduced price. And price bundling really can help promote sales of products that consumers might not otherwise buy. If we add it to a bundle, they may buy it. But the combined price must be low enough to get them to buy that entire bundle. So a lot of fast food companies use product bundle pricing. If you were to buy an individual burger, individual fry, individual drink, it may cost you $8. But if you buy it at the combo price, perhaps the number 2 meal, you may get it for $7. Microsoft Office is also sold at a bundle of where, as opposed to just getting Word and Excel, you're going to buy the whole Word, Excel, PowerPoint, Outlook, OneNote, Publisher Access software bundle at a slightly lower rate. Whereas people probably aren't buying Publisher or Access as much as they're buying Word and Excel. Comcast, AT&T, Spectrum, Verizon, they typically do this with things like cable, phone, internet. They're going to bundle it all together. So you're going to save some money. Because think about it, not a lot of people are buying landline phone services. So this is a way to get people to purchase landlines because it's offered in that bundle. Now let's talk about price adjustment strategies. So companies usually adjust their basic prices to account for a lot of different customer differences and changing situations that are happening out there. So the 7 types of pricing adjustments include psychological pricing, discount and allowance pricing, segmented pricing, promotional pricing, geographical pricing, dynamic pricing, and international pricing. So let's go through each of these 7 types of pricing adjustments. And again, this is where during the course of our product's life cycle, we are going to change the price. So psychological pricing. This is pricing that considers the psychology of prices and not simply just economics. The price is really used to say something about the product, and we're trying to get into our consumer's head and really understand their perception and the psychology of why they buy what they buy and how price is going to factor into that. So, for example, a lot of consumers are usually going to perceive higher priced products as having a higher quality than lower priced products. Again, when consumers cannot judge quality from other types of features, price becomes a very important quality signal. So let's say, for example, you were going to hire a lawyer. And let's say you just are looking at lawyers online and you find 2 lawyers. One charges $50 per hour and one charges $500 per hour. If you were just going to make the judgment of who's probably the better lawyer, just based on price alone, you're probably going to pick the lawyer who is $500 per hour, knowing nothing else. Again, when we cannot judge quality from other features, price becomes a very important quality signal. We're going to think that that $500 per hour lawyer is much better than that $50 per hour lawyer. And reference prices. So this is prices that buyers really carry in their minds and refer to when they look at another given product. Another aspect of psychological pricing is reference prices. So again, this is when we're going to go back to our main reference point. Reference point might be formed by noting current pricing, remembering past prices, what the price of this was last week or last year, or really assessing the buying situation. Let me go back to this. So a lot of times when you are in a brick and mortar store and you see the generic brand of something and then the brand name of something, have you ever noticed how they are always right next to each other? That is because the retailer wants you to buy their generic version. So they're putting it next to the brand name version as a reference point. So for example, I've got a picture of Bayer aspirin and then just general generic CVS aspirin. And you can see how you are going to use the brand name Bayer at $6.29 as your reference point. So it makes it seem like that CVS generic aspirin is a great value. Again, you're using that brand name Bayer aspirin as your reference point, and you're probably going to choose the CVS aspirin because of how advantageous it looks from a price perspective. Another aspect of psychological pricing, if you've ever wondered why things end up being like 99 cents as opposed to $1, things are marked as $4.99 instead of $5. Why do they do that? Why don't they just put $5? It would just make it easier. Typically that 9 or a .99 at the end of a price signals in our deep reptilian brain some sort of bargain. We as humans read numbers left to right, and that first digit really resonates in our mind most. So for example, something that is worth $1.99 seems a lot closer to $1 than it does to $2. So it's kind of a little mind trick that these retailers are playing with us. So that is why you see all these $5.99, $7.99, $1.99.99. That's why they do that 99, because in our brain we perceive it as being closer to $1 than to $2 when something is $1.99. And discount and allowance pricing. Most companies are going to adjust their basic price to reward consumers for certain responses. For example, if you pay your bills early, if you buy in a huge volume, if you're buying in the off season when not a lot of other customers are. These price adjustments are called discounts and allowances, and they can take a lot of different forms. So what a discount is, this is a straight up reduction in price on a purchases during a stated period of time, or if you're buying in larger quantities. So you could have a cash discount. This is a price reduction for buyers who pay their bills on time or even early. You could have a quantity discount. And with a cash discount, this is also something that happens, especially if you've ever noticed getting gas. Sometimes there will be two different prices listed for the gasoline that you're putting into your vehicle. One if you're paying with credit card, and then one if you're paying with cash. They are usually going to give you about a 10-cent per gallon discount if you pay with cash as opposed to credit. So that's an example of another cash discount. And then you've got a quantity discount. This is a price reduction to buyers who buy in very large volumes. And then you've got a seasonal discounts. This is a price reduction to buyers who buy out of season when they aren't seeing a typically very high demand. So they want you to come buy things. So they're going to give you a discount. This is typically why you are going to see things that are at lower prices Christmas decorations. Essentially, if you go to the store in January, you are going to see all the Christmas decorations marked down significantly. You are going to get a seasonal discount because you're buying out of season. Christmas has already passed. It's about a year away. You're going to get a seasonal discount. And an allowance. This is promotional money paid by manufacturers to retailers in return for agreement to feature their products in some ways. Another type of reduction from the list price. So an example, if you've ever traded anything in, if you bought a new car and you've traded in your own one, if you have traded in an old phone, a trade-in allowance gives price reductions for turning in an old item when giving a new one. Again, usually we think of cars or smartphones for this example. And then we've got segmented pricing. This is selling a product or service at 2 or more prices where the difference in price is not based on the differences in costs to the company itself. So companies are often going to adjust their basic prices to allow for differences in customers, products, and locations. So again, the differences in price is not based on how the costs that the company is actually incurring to make, distribute, market the product or service. It's going to be based on differences in consumers, in products, and locations. And I'll explain more about what this means. So segmented pricing can take a lot of different forms. So we have customer segment prices. This is where we're going to have different customers pay different prices for the same product or services. So for examples, a lot of museums, a lot of movie theaters, a lot of stores may charge lower prices for students, for military members or veterans, and for senior citizens. This is an example of customer segment pricing. If you are a student and you go to the movie theater and buy a ticket for the big blockbuster hit, you are going to be paying a lower rate. Now, I come in, I'm not a student, and I'm going to be paying a higher price for that exact same movie ticket. It's the same product, the same service, we're getting the same experience, but because of the different type of segmentation that is being used, I am paying a higher price than you as a student. So different customers pay different prices for the exact same product or service. And then we've got product form pricing. These are different versions of the product that are priced differently, but it's not according to the differences in the company's costs. So, for example, for any of you who have ever flown on a plane, you'll probably notice, especially if you're picking out your seat, different seats on a plane are going to have different prices. If you want an aisle exit row where you're going to have a little bit more leg room, where you're going to be able to stretch out a bit more, it's probably going to be a more expensive plane ticket than if you're in the middle seat all the way in the back of the plane, right next to the airplane, or excuse me, to the bathroom. So you are going to have product form pricing where different versions of the company's product are priced differently, but it's not according to differences in the company's cost. It does not cost United Airlines any differently to transport you if you are sitting in that middle seat versus what it costs them to transport someone who's sitting in that exit row. Another thing is different colors of vehicles. A lot of times the really snazzy colors like red or very popular colors will be priced higher, whereas more unpopular colors are not going to be priced as high. Again, it doesn't cost the company any different in terms of actually the paint color itself, but they're going to charge different prices for different vehicles and different colors. And then we've got location-based pricing. This is where a company charges different prices for different locations, even though the cost of offering each location is the same. So a great example of this is State universities. So if you end up going to Illinois State, University of Illinois, they are going to charge a higher price for out-of-state students than they would for students who reside in Illinois. Again, it's all about where you live, location-based pricing. Concert venues and sports arena charge higher prices for different locations of seats. So it's going to all be based on where you are within that stadium, how much your ticket is going to cost. And again, it doesn't cost a student who is from Iowa versus one who is from Illinois. It does not cost the University of Illinois any difference in terms of how much it costs them to provide an education. So again, it's just based on charging different prices for different locations. And time-based pricing. A company is going to vary its price by the season, by the month, by the day, or it could be even the hour throughout the day. So movie theaters, they charge a lower matinee price during the daytime versus what they charge on a Friday night at 8 p.m. Airlines tend to charge very high prices around the Thanksgiving and Christmas holidays because they know people are going to be traveling and they can do that. It's all based on timing. And for segmented pricing to be a really effective strategies, certain conditions must exist. The market must be segmentable and the segments must show different degrees of demand. And segmented prices should reflect real differences in consumers' perceived value. Companies must also be really careful not to treat customers in lower tiers as second-class citizens. You don't want to alienate any of your consumers.